Hello, welcome to another episode of Constitutionalist Podcast. I am your host, Joseph M. Leonard. That's L-E-N-A-R-D. It looks French. It's not. It's Leonard without an O. Thank you for tuning in. As Graham Norton used to say on his show, let's get on with the show! Hello, just a brief intro here. I've got to run to do an interview, but I realized April 1st, April Fool's Day, is a Wednesday. So, Wednesday guest drop, not April Fool's. This is a serious episode you're about to see. So, without further ado, let's get to it. Joining me today is April. See, now I can't talk. April, what? Try to say it slowly. Get it out. April Ratchford. Yes, welcome.
Thank you.
And she is here today to talk about adulting with autism. A little background, just so happens, one of those cosmic coincidences. I just ran into someone 2 days ago at the local deli, family friends who has an autistic child, and got an update on him. And unfortunately, he's now slipped into dementia. So she couldn't handle her own failing health and able to help him anymore. He had to be put into a senior center. I don't want to use that word. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
My brain ain't working right now.
It's a common thing when they grow older and there's really nowhere for them to go, and parents don't know that you can leave like trust, and then the trusts are expensive. So they end up either in group homes or they end up in long-term care centers.
There's the term, a long care health center. Right? That's the nice term to use. Yes. But let's back up and do first, where were you born and raised, and where are you now, kind of, personal kind of question first.
So I was born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky. I have a sibling who is also autistic, and she's 2 years younger. I've been in Kentucky all my life, except for 6 months. I lived in Nuremberg, Germany with my kiddo.
Interesting. Wow, that was a distance away. It's like, I was in the next state over. No, you're halfway around the world, huh?
Yeah, that's me. Graduated high school, didn't do so well in college my first time around. So my mom signed me up for nursing school, and I was a nurse for like 12 years. Had my son in 2002. And while I was going back to school, he was diagnosed with autism. He was also born with spina bifida, but that's not a problem. And then my sister, who is an occupational therapist as well, she was like, you can do what I do. Just do what I do. I switched my major, graduated from Spalding University with my master's in occupational therapy. And here I am 13 years later.
I don't have Netflix, so I never saw it, but I know there was a show, Love on the Spectrum, which raises the question. Try to define as best possible that spectrum, because there are indeed very capable on the spectrum, but have it, versus those on the other end who need constant help and care and attention. Did that definition change over the last couple decades? I think it has, yes?
It has. It used to be different ones. It used to be pervasive personality disorder. It used to be otherwise not specified. And then the kids that were higher level where they just were like missed because they didn't hit those key markers. Then we come into another form where they call it the autism spectrum. They had different levels. And now we do it again because now we have a level 1 where they're mostly can be independent on their own, but that's a spectrum on itself. Then we have level 2 that's going to need supervision and they have their own spectrum. And then we have the level 3s who are going to always need 24/7 care.
Corey is his name. I was just defining. He was always going to need help and care. And unfortunately, Shirley is at a point in her life with her own health issues, doesn't have the body strength. He was a bigger male, had to go somewhere where he could have now with dementia issues, 24/7 constant care should things arise. There's also, I want to be careful and cautious how I say this. I want to word it friendly if I can, but a lot of people, when they think autism, they think a DNA defect or genetic disorder entirely. There is often a physical appearance similarity to that condition. Yes, no, not always true, correct?
Not always true. Those that have autism could have another diagnosis. Like my son is spina bifida and autism. They can be Down syndrome and autism. They can be cerebral palsy and autism. So it's not necessarily, it's the autism itself. Somebody may have a physical defect that's a genetic, and then autism just compounds it right on top.
I think we're coming a long way in the better understanding of these things, and exactly why I wanted to have you to talk about these differentiations and distinctions, because certainly 40 years ago, it was look at that person. They look a certain way. There's that, again, genetic physical trait kind of thing. Well, they're autistic. But indeed, as we're discussing here, based on the spectrum, there doesn't necessarily have to be that look. And that's actually generally, as you said, a secondary, like a Down syndrome condition that's really different from the autism itself.
Correct. It can be two medical diagnoses just interacting together.
But it seems like autism a lot of times is indeed a secondary condition to other things. A lot of times they go together. Yes?
Yes, sometimes happens to fall that way. A lot of people who have autism can also have like mental disorders as well. Autism can be right there, their main diagnosis, but they can also have mental disorders like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, anxiety, or OCD. It just all depends, because the autism can be present there when they're young or late diagnosed, and then other things just compound it.
Now, I've always thought of it, is autism technically considered diagnosis under mental disorder?
No, it is actually a neurological disorder. They have done studies that have shown the brains of people with autism are completely different from neurotypical people. So they list it as a neurological disorder, whereas some people who are autistic are ADHD, but that's still a psychological disorder.
Glad we're making these distinctions, because again, 40 years ago,
it was all lumped together.
It was all lumped together, and indeed, autism thought as strictly a mental disorder, and we've come a long way. And hence now the newer terminology, neurodivergent.
Correct. Yeah. And really neurodivergent is more of a social kind of definition for people with autism because everybody's neurodivergent by definition because everybody's brain is different. But for those with autism, it's like more of a social thing because we are different from the other population and it's like a spectrum, just depending on who you meet, it's all different.
I've said several times now already, I'm going to repeat it again. We've come a long way from where we were 40 years ago. 2,000 years on from the time of Christ, we're still a long way from understanding that thing in our head. We understand more than we did, but we're probably a long way from where we could be in understanding that brain and all the different divergencies, to use that word. Full disclosure, I myself am a degree on the lower end of the OCD scale myself. I have issues. In fact, last night I was up till 4 a.m. because, those intrusive, obsessive thoughts just wouldn't go away and let my brain shut down so I could sleep. So I created a song about it called Wired. OCD Issues Anthem. So I'm going to tack that on to the end of this episode just to be able to share that. But again, I'm nowhere near that too as a scale to like a Howie Mandel, who famously is a spokesperson for OCD issues. So OCD, autism, Downs, a lot of times these things all interconnect and interweave for whatever reason, and we're nowhere close to understanding the how or why yet.
That is correct, because we can't tell if it's all genetic or all environmental. Now, in my family, it's genetic.
Or a little of both.
Or a little of both. But I know for my family, it's all genetic. So my mom is undiagnosed. My late mom is undiagnosed. Then I was late diagnosed in my 40s. My sister, both ADHD and autistic. My son is autistic. Her 2 oldest kids are autistic. And the youngest is autistic and ADHD. So we have a genetic component.
That's part of the issue here, too. Again, this is something I want to be careful how I say it. Martin Luther King Jr.'s content of character. To look at a person, you might look at me and I look healthy, but I've got a ton of health issues. I'm on disability. Due to them, I can't work a normal job. For me to look at you, I would in no way, shape, or form suspect you are on the autism scale at all. And that the looks can be deceiving. And to some people, though, and again, I want to be so careful with this, but with so much medical fraud that's come up, the expansion of the autism spectrum, some I think indeed like I have chronic fatigue immune dysfunction. I know others are using it, since there's no real test for it, to scam the system. And I'm concerned. I know there's probably some out there I want you to address, maybe thinking, well, clearly this person doesn't look autistic, doesn't sound autistic. What about those? And no doubt there are always people trying to scam any system, those who are indeed scamming the broadened definition of the scale. You get where I'm coming from? I'm trying to be so careful in how I ask this question.
It's very common that people look at me and they're like, you don't look or sound autistic. And I'm like, but I didn't speak until I was 2.5. I had a speech therapist. Also remember too, culturally, like Black people just looked at their kids and it was like, go find your cousin and you just mimicked after your cousin. And that's how everybody just thought, oh, she's just really shy. No, wow. I have autism.
I'm glad you said that. I wouldn't have thought to put it that way, but yes, now that you vocalize that, that makes a lot of sense. It's a misattribution to a personal characteristic of shyness that it might get missed. And indeed, as you're suggesting, if it's caught soon enough, like I've had someone else on who dealt with autism and dyslexia, if you catch the dyslexia, there are tips and tricks and things if it's caught early enough, you might be able to help put them in the better end of the spectrum. Again, I don't know how to phrase this, but you as an example, it was caught, it was dealt with, which helped you become a more functional person while still on the spectrum. Am I making sense?
Yes, you make perfect sense. And that's how a lot of families just deal with it. It's so slight that you wouldn't know. I remember being in middle school having anxiety so bad that I was giving myself ulcers. The doctor was like, oh, she just needs this. She just has too much stomach acid. I'm like, and now that I'm older, I was like, what kid has that bad of anxiety that they're giving themselves ulcers? And I was perfectly fine just being by myself in my room, holed up, not being social. And they slipped through the cracks. Like my sister didn't get her son diagnosed because he was born in the late 90s. She was like, I'm just not going to do it because we're not far enough along. He'll just get a label and then it'll hold him back. So she never got him diagnosed in school. He sailed. He's got his bachelor's degree in cyber technology.
Okay. Cyber security, maybe?
Yes.
Usually the word cyber, you use the word cyber in conjunction with that. I'm a former IT guy myself. So I want to go again, ask another, I've been losing my train of thought, difficult angle, if I can remember what it was. I know what it was. Thank you both for reminding me what it was. I would be remiss. Now, you deal with the autism stuff, but you're not a neuroscientist, certainly nor am I. So I want to get your best opinion, and I would be remiss if I didn't go here. The paranoia of vaccines and autism, the expansion of autism and those who blame vaccines. Now, I think it's important to say causation and correlation aren't always one and the same. And I'll personally say, I think we're pushing, I'm not anti-vax, no one I know is, but we believe we should spread these out over time. There's no sense giving a sexually transmitted disease vaccine to a 6-month-old. That can wait. So if too many vaccines and it's not the vaccine itself, it's potentially the mercury and other additives in it that might be a contributing factor. And for the benefit of the transcription and the audio only, I'm doing that in air quotes. Again, I'm not a scientist. I'm just asking the question. It could be a contributing factor. There's a lot we don't know yet. What are your thoughts on that hodgepodge of big questions?
So, I was like, oh, that's the big question. So, I'm an occupational therapist by training, but my now this is personal, this is nowhere professional. Both can be true at the same time. Is it really the vaccines, or is it the timing of the vaccines, or is it the environment? Because our environment now is completely different prior to the Industrial Revolution. People were growing their own food. So which is it? Because really,
that's why I tried to put in quotes contributing factor. There are so many other potential contributing factors here. But
Right.
my whole point, you can agree or disagree. Again, we're all entitled to the opinion. If there's no need to push that many on a young child, why do we keep even taking that chance? Again, a sexually transmitted disease type vaccine doesn't need to be pushed on a child until middle school, even when there's a remote chance that they would become sexually active. Your thoughts?
I'm like, I thought that too. I was like, are we giving this to a baby? But it could be money. It could also be these kids also are in these, if they're in hospitals, they're going to be around people who deal with other people that have that. So is it really a protection for them so they don't accidentally get it? When people want to say it's got to be the vaccines, but I'm like, it can't just be the vaccines because there are people that have never vaccinated their kids and they have autism. It's really a catch-22.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things that you have to decide what you're going to do. Now, I do know parents that space it out, but it gets so hard when you enter the school system, because it used to be when I was going to school, you had your shots and you didn't get shots again until like high school, maybe.
Yeah.
Now you can't even enter school without all those vaccinations all at once. And I'm like, is that really necessary?
That's the rub, and that's what I was getting at. And this is personal to me too, because I know someone who just had a child, and indeed the hospital was pushing them to have like 10 vaccines, and they're like, no, this, and this, measles, mumps, tuberculosis, things that are a danger that seem to be coming back. You might need an immune boost for, makes sense. But again, that particular vaccine doesn't seem to apply before they're even just leaving the hospital. They're nowhere close to going to daycare or preschool or kindergarten yet. Some of these can wait. And again, I am of the position, not anti-vax, but why do we take the chance if it's not absolutely 100% necessary now? Let's indeed spread them out. It seems like we're kind of on the same page in our opinion of it, and opinions do vary.
Now, my son had to have all of them just simply because he had spina bifida. So he had part of his spinal cord out. So I was like, well, we're just going to
that's an extra exposure. Right. Yes. Yeah.
So, but a normal, healthy baby, I'm like, give them what they need that we can eliminate, like the measles, mumps, rubella, whooping cough, the things that are so easy to catch for kids and kill them. That's doable. Stuff like the HPV, I was like, wait, what?
That's exactly one of them I'm referring to. Yes. A newborn infant does not need that. But yet they're pushing them right at birth. And because as you alluded to, I'm 63. I was born in 62. There were only like a dozen vaccinations while I was growing up. Now there's 4 or 5 dozen they want to try to push on people. And just the sheer number. What bothers me the most, and I don't mean to turn this into a vaccine talk episode, how can we not all agree in this modern day and age, mercury may have had its place in a vaccine as a preservative 100 years ago. But today's modern preservatives, there is absolutely, positively zero reason to have a toxin like mercury in any amount in a vaccine.
That is very correct, because they also tell you don't eat a bunch of tuna because the mercury levels are so high. I don't know why we would like decide that mercury is still a good thing.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing.
It's not like arsenic. Like, I did not choose this hairdo for the people viewing on video. I have no hair. It came out during chemo when I had leukemia in 2010, thankfully still in remission. But my point being, arsenic. You don't give arsenic to people except under certain controlled and no other alternatives. Like, I was given arsenic as part of my cancer treatment in low doses, right? It's a known toxin. It's a poison. It should never be used unless if you're desperate, like I was dying. So, let's try this is better than you're going to die for sure. But with mercury, there is in this day and age zero benefit. But again, I've turned this into a vaccine episode, and I didn't mean to do that. My apologies. Back to the point of what you're here for. What else would you like to say regarding autism, misconceptions, where you think we might find things going? Do you hold out that there is a hope for, just back to vaccines, mRNA? Do you think manipulative things that can manipulate the DNA might hold a future for at least relief, if not a cure?
Well, now that's a catch. That's a hot topic now because it's part of my neural makeup. This is my brain. This is how I am. I just roll with it. Granted, I know there are parents out there that have level 3 kids and they're like, it's overwhelming because the divorce rate for parents with autistic kids is astronomical. And then once they get through school, well, what happens now? Because now they have no structure because there's no supports once they turn 18. A lot of them are still unemployed. There's still 85% of autistic people are still unemployed. And some of them are the brightest people. You just got to give them some tips and learning. Like, a lot of people don't understand. They don't have that type of body language and they're very direct. So if you ask them a question, they're going to give you the answer.
Especially end of the spectrum, they seem to have no filter, is what you're alluding to, right? They're honest to a fault. They don't understand the concept of sometimes a little white lie or saying nothing at all, but no, that what's on their mind tends to come out their mouth.
And if you want that answer, I taught my son to say, do you want the truth or do you want me to lie to you? Because he's just going to say it. But a lot of autistic people have learned to mask. Like, I go to work and people have no idea that I'm autistic unless they work with me when I'm spinning in a chair, stimming. So, or rolling across, in a stool. And
when a kind of a side effect of it makes it physically visible in you, you're saying, yes.
Right. Or now my
physically manifests is the phrase I'm looking for.
I have a habit of leaving lights on wherever I go. It drives my fiance nuts. When I was little, I used to leave cabinet doors open. And my mom would be like, "What? Why can't you close the cabinet?" I'm like, I don't know.
There is no explanation for why. Why is that? Again, as far as we think we've come as a species, we are a long way from understanding our own species and why certain things are the way they are in our nature. You said catch-22 a few times, so I want to go back to the mRNA thing. The very guy who invented the concept was against the mRNA shots for COVID because he didn't think it was appropriate or ready. He believes mRNA may in the future hold out great hopes. But as you alluded in a way, You are who you are. You are the way you are. If they come up with some supposed miracle mRNA shot that might alter you to, I hate to use this, but I'm going to be better, right? I'm putting that in quote. Uh, Again, I don't even like the phraseology I'm using, but I'm using it. But yeah, an mRNA miracle that might make one thing better, the catch 22 is a lot of times there are side effects and may make something else worse.
This is true. Like, I can understand where people would want something that would prevent autism because it's so just one of those things that is such a spectrum and it's the unknown. But on the other end, I'm like, well, are you going to do this with everybody? Like with Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, spina bifida? I'm like, this is a wide gap because you can't do for one and not do for the others because they suffer just as well. And their parents have to deal with them growing up, doctor's appointments and such.
That becomes that moral, in a way, catch 22 of, well,
Like
we can help. Yeah, the slippery slope thing. Absolutely. Now, I'm also all for right to try. And if there's something experimental, now, like for you, I agree. I think you're so high levelly functional, it wouldn't probably be worth the risk or chance of messing with something that would supposedly, in one respect, make you better, but again, that risk of making something worse. But at the same time, I could see someone who has someone on the more non-functional end of the spectrum saying, let's take this chance. If it could get them closer to self-sufficiently functional when they're older, it might be worth the risk, reward, and risk factors. Again, my phraseology, I just am not getting the words I want here, but I think you understand what I'm saying. Yes,
it's all according to like parents. Like parents,
parental rights.
Right, do what you need to do to help your kid, and there's no right or wrong answer to that. Like some people,
unfortunately, a lot of times that's true. Things aren't always black and white. There's a lot of, I got 2 shows called Gray Areas 1 and 2 about things aren't always yes, no, black, white, 100% right or 100% wrong. A lot of gray area in between.
It's called be tolerant and don't judge. Like you can't judge those parents for wanting their kid to have the best life as possible because it's going to be hard. Not everyone wants to do that and they celebrate their autism and they're like, this is me. So
respecting that choice, yes.
Both sides.
This is a difficult topic, which is why I'm having such a hard time, indeed, trying to decide what to say, what not to say, and how to say it, and how to phrase a question or a statement. This is difficult. And this isn't the only difficult topic, of course. There is morals and ethics are gray areas to a lot of people.
Correct. It's like, well, my morals and your morals could be completely different. We're in a world today that everybody is offended and everybody wants to be right. And I'm like, not everybody has to be right, but you have to be tolerant of somebody's choice. Everybody has the right to make their own choice, good or bad.
As a society, for a society to function and survive, we have to agree on certain degrees of moral acceptances, like thou shalt not murder, whether you're Christian or not. And even the Bible, though, makes exceptions to the rule, like Exodus 22:2. There's a difference between killing and murder of innocents. And yet some won't even agree on that, if they want to kill somebody or a child in the womb, they just can do it and have no compunction of afterthought about doing it.
People have to be able to say, yes, this is what I believe, and I'm not going to change it. But then they have to also understand the other side. And we've just lost the plot in the middle. We're just all swimming in the sea of nut.
Yeah.
Nutty.
Well, my apologies. I kind of took us. I never script shows. I never know what rabbit holes will open to go down, but an extra difficult episode for me to be able to stay on track, as you could see. Do you have a website where people can find you?
So people, if they want to find all my socials or where I do my podcast, I have Linktree /adulting with autism. And when you put in Linktree, it's linktr.ee. For whatever reason, they did that.
Yeah.
We're adulting with autism together.
Yeah, I use Linktree also. So yeah, I know that weird linktr.ee/whatever, and in your case, adulting with autism. In my case, it's JLenardDetroit. But yeah, somehow they got their own .ee extension,
Right.
a special carve out, which is, there's always goods and bads, pros and cons to everything. So thank you, April Ratchford, for coming on. I hope you feel you've got something. So let me ask one last question. I don't feel I've given you sufficient. So let me just ask one last very broad, open-ended question. What else would you like to say to address this audience?
If you see somebody that has an autistic child, just ask them, can I help you? May I help you? Because they're drowning. It's hard.
Especially if that autistic person is on the lower functionality part of the scale. Yes, exactly. Again, growing up around and knowing friends of the family, Corey, them, and everyone they know, the sweetest person you would have ever met. But now we've seen dementia with our mother, mine and my sisters, where sometimes dementia somehow puts a mean streak in people. Now, I didn't have enough time to talk with Shirley to see if that unfortunate side problem of dementia ever reared its head with Corey or not, and that became part of the issue why he needed to be somewhere with 24/7 on-call care or not. As we discussed, the spectrum is broad and wide. You're very functional. Others are next to completely unfunctional.
Correct.
Goes back to Martin Luther King Jr. Don't judge a book by its cover. You cannot group and lump everyone into one bucket.
This is very true.
All right. Well, I'm worn out. This was difficult for me because, again, knowing someone with autism, but also knowing there's that wide spectrum, I can't judge all autism based on that example. And an important reason why I felt I had to talk to you today. So again, thank you, April Ratchford, for coming on. Maybe in the future, we'll have you back again for an update. We'll see what happens. Thank you. Take care. God bless.
Bye.
I just wanted to record, now that April's gone, an additional segment on this episode. First and foremost, I want to thank April Ratchford again for being a guest here. Secondly, apologize to her and to you, my audience, as if you've listened through this, you heard me struggle for knowing what I wanted to say, what I wanted to address, but uncertain on some things that could strike a nerve for some, how to phrase it, a statement or asking a question. And April was so gracious in putting up with my confusion. As kind of discussed without directly and implicitly saying it, I want to do that here. Autism, as we found, as we discussed, is often a companion issue. And again, I put companion in air quotes. It's not the best word, not the best term. Again, for lack of a better way to put it, it is a companion disease that often is piggybacked on or accompanied by other conditions that may directly or indirectly or not directly or in any way, shape, or form relate. It is part of our lack of understanding. Again, we've come a long way, but we've got a long way to go to understanding a lot of these things, the way our body and brains work. We're a long way off of understanding why does autism often accompany Downs and in OCD accompany Downs and autism, or ADHD, or a blend of the two, or stress. I think is a pretty easy one to understand. Anyone with any kind of health condition, stress of dealing with that becomes a sub-issue in and of itself, brought on by the other condition. But causation and correlation, as I said, does one cause the other? Does vice versa? Do they not have any causation or correlation with the other, but just happenstance? We like to think all things are interconnected. It may or may not be discovered in the future they are or not, and how we can approach dealing with someone with multiple conditions, treating it as one overall singular condition as a collective versus then trying to deal with each of the sub conditions in and of themselves, and what potential, as I said to April, you might fix one thing but break another when we're talking drugs, side effects, the pros, the cons, the good, the bad, and the ugly of it all. I just wanted to also close out with that. And I mentioned I would play the OCD song that I created last night. Warning. It is loud. It is obnoxious. It's like thrash metal, but it is recorded that way on purpose to portray, indeed, OCD, the obsessive compulsive disorder, or as Howie Mandel says, the music's meant to be loud and noisy and to make the point about OCD sufferers indeed having those thoughts, often loud, unwanted, and can we quiet this all down? I try to capture that sentiment in the song with the way the song is so darn loud and overpowering, in a sense. If you don't think you can handle that kind of a song, you can tune out. I hope you will give it a listen. Point of this this episode is the word I'm looking for, of course, was autism. But as we discussed, going to say it again, autism usually isn't a thing alone and of itself. Other conditions usually, for whatever reason, we don't know. And hopefully we can find out and learn to deal with why other issues tend to pile on. It just so happens that I did the song about OCD called Wired OCD Issues Anthem last night. So Since it came up during the episode, I'm going to tack it on here. Nothing to do necessarily with autism, unless if someone on the scale also has the OCD issues. I just felt I needed to explain that. Again, thank you, April, and apologies to April and you, my audience, if this seemed a bit schizophrenic of an episode. Certainly didn't start off intending to be that way, but it kind of went that way. Thank you all. Take care. God bless. And cue the song.
What? Can't hit the off switch. Thoughts keep spinning like a glitch in the mix. Counting sheep, but they're running track laps. Every number just snaps right back. Cut nails short so I don't pick skin. Check the door twice, then I check it again. Tiny wars in a tired head. All damn night never leaves the bed. Where's the off switch? I'm stuck in the loop again. Same three worries like my only friend. Scroll that list till the words all bend. I just want one quiet end. One quiet. Where's the off switch? Brain stuck bright on red. Chasing thoughts till the dawn breaks dead. Say let go but it grips instead. I just want one quiet end. Lights all dim but the mind's on blast. Replay, remake every moment that's passed. If I breathe in 4 then I breathe out 8. Maybe I can now count fate. Wash my hands till the doubt runs dry. Still hear what if I'm in under the tide. I know the script but I hit rewind. Same sharp scene every single time. Is it me or the fear in my name? If I stop, do I fall out of frame? Tell my brain you don't run this show, but it loves. What do you know? Where's the off switch? I'm stuck in a loop again. Same 3 worries like my only friend. Scroll that list till the words all bend. I just want one quiet end. One quiet end! Where's the off switch? I'm stuck in the loop again. Same 3 worries like my only friend. Scroll that list till the words all bend. I just want one quiet end. One quiet end. Where's the off switch? Brain stuck bright on red. Chasing thoughts till the dawn breaks dead. Say let go but it grips instead. I just want one quiet end. One quiet end. OCD brain issues, why I can't hit the off switch. Thoughts keep spinning like a glitch in the mix. Counting sheep but they're running track laps. Peace of mind I seem to forever lack.
Like and subscribe to Constitutionalist Politics Podcast and share episodes. We need your help. Thank you for having tuned into another Constitutionalist Podcast show. I really appreciate that you stopped by. Again, please like, share, subscribe. We need you to help spread the Constitutionalist movement. Thank you again. Take care. God bless. Love you all.